know people in your building, talk to those people, and you'll find out that most of the people in the building also are suffering the same thing that you're suffering, and most of the people want to do something about it. Coordinate a meeting, usually during the weekend, because people work and it's easier for people to have a meeting during the weekend. So, and talk to people and see if you can get together a list of repairs. Always work together. Don't do one thing individually per tenant. All together. If you're going to do a list of repairs, put together a list of repairs for all the apartments, a list of repairs for all the public areas, and send it as a group to the Landlord by Certified Mail.
What percentage of the tenants you need in order to have a legal established tenant association?
There is no legal requirement for that, unless you're going to incorporate your tenant association as an organization, as a corporation. There is no legal requirement for that. Of course, if you the more tenants you have, the better and more effective you're going to be. So if you have, let's say, 20 tenants in a building, it's better for you to have 10 out of those 20 than having 3 tenants only, because you're not going to be effective. Landlords are not going to take you seriously if you only have 3 tenants from a building that has 20 tenants. So talk to as many people as you can and make sure that people understand that it's not illegal to form a tenant association. You don't have to speak English. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to have green card. And, just get together and defend your rights.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
And welcome to our round table in a little while.
I'll be glad to be there.
Jeannie Dubnow, head of the Housing Committee at RHNA. Welcome to the show. I want you to know that I respect you so much.
Thank
and to
you.
me, you are my godmother in these housing agendas. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Rafael.
Please tell us about your organization and the things that you've been doing for how many years, 20, 30 years in our community?
A long time, yeah, a long time. I've been living in the community for about 40 years. And I'm with RHNA, that's Riverside Edgecombe Neighborhood Association. And we have our headquarters on 156th Street. We're a complete volunteer organization. We have no paid staff. So we're all dedicated volunteers. And we have a newsletter. We have all our meetings bilingual in English and Spanish. And we have a lot of dedicated people who work with our organization. The main thing we're focusing on now is the problem of gentrification in northern Manhattan. We're in Washington Heights, but we're united with people in West Harlem. We work with people in Inwood, and we deal with the elected officials. And the main thing is, as Jumani said before, because of the lack of home rule in New York City, our people have no power. We have no powers. We can vote, but we have no power. The people we elect can't do anything for us because of the fact that the rent laws are all in Albany and our city council can do nothing. So we've got 5 basic reasons why our rent is going up. Number 1, as somebody mentioned, MCIs, major capital improvements. Every time the landlord claims that they fixed an elevator, the rent goes up, the roof, the windows. Individual apartment repairs, so MCIs, that's 1. 2 is the Rent Guidelines Board in New York City every year, regardless of whether the landlords are making huge profits, medium profits, excess profits, it doesn't matter. They raise the rents through the RGB. This last year they went up. Also, we had a huge turnout compared to previous years. People were furious, but we have been losing. I must say, the tenant movement has been losing, not winning. We've been losing. So the rent, every time the leases are up, the rents go up. The third thing is the luxury decontrol. As the rent approaches $2,000, the landlords will do anything to get the people out so they can then have those rents completely at their whim, whatever they want to charge, which is legal. And that was a part of the rules, the laws that they passed in Albany under Pataki. So we have the luxury decontrol. Then the harassment, as some of the other people mentioned. I can't tell you how many times people have come practically in tears. Why? Because people who've lived in their apartments for 20, 30 years, Landlord all of a sudden sends a notice to cure. Somebody is living in the apartment who has no right in the apartment. An elderly woman, I'll give you a particular case. Lady Nurka Zimbrana from Washington Heights, her mother, a very elderly woman, had the tragedy of her son dying. He was killed in an automobile accident. What happens? You'd think the landlord would have a heart. He is trying to throw out the mother now because her son had his name on the lease. So now who is this elderly lady who's lived there for 30 years that he pretends he doesn't know? Who are these children of this man who was killed in the automobile accident? He doesn't know them. He's trying to get them out. Well, those people, if they have no legal representation, they sometimes get so frightened that they will leave voluntarily. And this is what's happening. This is one of the succession rights issue is one of the main reasons we're getting people thrown out of their apartments in Washington Heights.
Can you explain the difference between a rent control and rent stabilized apartment?
Yes. People who were living in their apartments prior to June 1971 are in an ever-diminishing group called rent control. They're under one set of laws. The people who moved into their apartments after June 1971 are under another set of laws called rent stabilization. It's made very complicated, so nobody can understand it unless they've been doing this for a million years or they're studying this like PhDs in real estate or something.
Let's talk about Sherman Creek.
Sherman Creek. So Sherman Creek is our northern Manhattan version of all of these inclusionary zoning. Mayor Bloomberg's great answer to the need for affordable housing. It is a fake. It's a phony. And Sherman Creek is another phony development pushed by Mayor Bloomberg and his Department of City Planning. So what is this? Just like in other areas in New York City, it's what's called a zone where private developers come, build market rent housing, and then they give us a few crumbs. The crumbs are, out of all of those apartments, the neighborhood people supposedly get 20%, which is supposedly affordable. What's called affordable? What is called affordable is based on the average median income, AMI. Now, in Inwood, which is where the Sherman Creek is supposed to be built, that average income is about $25,000 a year. The average median income in New York City is $60,000. So now, we already see that our people, what's supposed to be affordable for $60,000 income is not going to be affordable for them. And so it's a complete phony. And we're going to fight against this. We are in a coalition. Rena's a part of a coalition called Nos Quedamos, or otherwise known in English as Project Remain, which was kicked off by, to his credit, Assemblyman Adriano Espaillat. And we had a very huge, successful demonstration in June, which involved about 1,000 people marching all the way from 135th Street and Broadway all the way up to through Inwood and demanding affordable housing. Now, what's happening? We're told, oh, vote. If you vote, that's your answer. Vote, vote, vote. I agree. I always vote. I never stay home. However, when you have the Democratic Party giving us an Eliot Spitzer, I'm sorry, this is not the answer. Eliot Spitzer is a real estate man. He has even been quoted as saying, if I weren't going to be an elected official, I would be in real estate. His father made his money in real estate. He has been asked by the tenant movement, what are you going to do about Erstat? He's going to keep Erstat there. He thinks the Erstat law, obviously he thinks the Erstat law is good. The Erstat law, as was mentioned by Jumaane and others, is the one that takes control out of our hands of our elected officials. And so we have no powers whatsoever. He's going to keep it there. I do not think this is a very good governor.
Jeannie, thank you for coming into the show. It's
Thank
so
you.
appreciated.
Thank you for inviting me.